everyone. Today we are going to talk about cubes and cuboids. We'll talk about how to identify cubes and cuboids and then solving to find their volume and the surface area. So by end of this video, you would be able to identify what are cubes and cuboids, then volume of cubes and cuboids, and then we will talk about how to calculate the surface area for both cubes as well as cuboids. All right, so let's get started with what is a cube. So similar to all other shapes that we have learned so far, cube is a 3D shape. It's a three-dimensional shape. It has six square faces of the same size. You can see here. All right. And then it has 12 edges. As it's a 3D shape, you could see that there are 12 edges. It has 8 vertices. So these are basically the properties of your cube, right? So it has 6 square faces. A cube, all sides or all edges are of the same size. It has 6 square faces, 12 edges and 8 vertices. Okay, so this is going to be a key difference between the cube and the cuboid, that the size of their edges. In cube, all sizes of the edges are same. So 6 square faces having same size of the edge. All right, 12 edges and 8 vertices. That is your three-dimensional cube solid shape. Okay, when we say that the sizes are same or they have square faces, we also use another word which is congruent square faces. So congruent is nothing but same. Okay, so it has 6 congruent square faces, means 6 square faces of same size. All right, let's talk about now what is a cuboid. So when it comes to a cuboid, again it's a three-dimensional shape with not all sides are congruent. All right, so cuboid is a cube but having different sizes of the sides. All right, so cuboid is a three-dimensional solid shape with 6 rectangular shapes. All right, it is not going to have square face shapes, it is going to have rectangular shapes. The properties for cuboids are it has 6 rectangular faces. All right, not 6 square faces. Cube had 6 square faces, cuboid has 6 rectangular faces. 12 edges and 8 vertices remains the same because eventually it's a three-dimensional shape of cuboid. All right, so the key difference between cube and cuboid is cubes has 6 square faces, right, and cuboid has 6 rectangular faces. That's what it makes a difference, that all the sides or the edges are not of the same side. Opposite sides or opposite faces are going to be equal in size. As it has 6 rectangular faces, you would have the opposite sides having same or equal sizes. All right, similar to your rectangular. If you remember rectangular, the opposite sides are same, right? The ones which are facing each other, they are same. And as cuboid is made up of rectangular faces only, you will have opposite faces of cubes also with equal sizes. Okay, coming to how to calculate the volume of cubes and cuboids. Now, first and foremost, what is a volume? So, basically, volume is the space inside a given shape, right? So, volume tells you how much space is really there inside a three-dimensional shape. All right, now, cube's formula for calculating the volume is V is equals to S3, that is cube of sides, so where your V stands for the volume of the cube, S stands for the side. As cuboid is having 6 squared faces, the volume of the cube is going to be calculated by the cube of the side, where again V is the volume, S is your length of one side. And in cube, how are the side lengths? Side lengths are all same. Okay, so that's why the volume of cube is cube of your side. Okay, let's take a look at a worked example. Assume you have a cube having length of 5 centimeter for each edge. So as it is a cube, you have all the sizes of all the edges of same size, right? So everything is like 5 centimeter. Every edge is 5 centimeter in size. Now, how to find the volume of the cube? The formula is V is equals to cube of side. So what we would do, we would multiply 5 multiplied by 5 and multiplied by 5. So cube of each side. So each side is 5 centimeter. Now cube of 5 is, you are multiplying 5 three times, correct? Because it's a cube that you are identifying. So 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5 is going to give you 125. And take a look at the measuring unit. It is cube of centimeters, right? So when you calculate the volume, the measuring unit is always going to be cube of that particular measuring unit. All right. So here we are having the sides in centimeters. So we have the volume as 125 cube centimeter. All right. Remember, when we ended up calculating the area, the units are going to be squared, right? So we used to call it like square centimeter, square meter, something like that. But when it comes for volume, we are going to have the measuring unit of volume will be always in the form of cube. So when we calculated the volume of this cube having 5 centimeter edges, it is 125 cubic centimeter. All right. Now let's take a look at how to calculate the volume of a cuboid. Okay, now in cuboid, you are going to have opposite faces same, but your length, width and height are going to be different. All right. So the volume is going to tell you how much space is within that particular cuboid is occupied. And the formula is going to be volume is equals to length multiplied by width multiplied by height of the cuboid. As cuboid is going to have different height, width and length, the formula is L into W into H. When in case of cubes, we have all the sides same. So that's why the volume was side multiplied by side multiplied by side, making it a cube of the side, right? But in case of cuboid, the sides are going to be different in their size. So the formula becomes length multiplied by width multiplied by height of the cube. All right, let's take a look at the worked example. So assume you have this cuboid having the lengths of 8, 5 and 3 respectively for height, width and length. Now let's take a look how to have the volume calculated. We have a formula. V is equals to length into width into height. That's why volume is equals to 8 multiplied by 5 then multiplied by 3. Alright. So that's why we get the volume is equals to 120 centimeter cube. Alright. Now again a thing to note, the measuring unit is going to be cubic centimeter, right? Because it's a volume, so we have it as cubic centimeter. Let's talk about the surface area now. So we talked about volume, which is basically the space which is inside the cube or the cuboid. Now what is the surface area? Let's talk about the surface area of the cube first. So the surface area is basically the total area of all the outer faces of the cube. As cube is a three-dimensional shape, we are going to calculate the surface area, that is nothing but the total area of all outer faces. Okay, and the formula for calculating the surface area of a cube is SA, which is representing the surface area, is equals to 6 multiplied by square of the sides. All right, where SA is surface area and S refers to the length of one side. So in cube, all the sides are same, right? So that's why we are making square of the sides and we are multiplying it by 6. In another way to remember this, try to recall the properties of the cube. So the cube is what? It is going to have 6 squared surfaces. right? So if you look at the cube in the form of squares, there are basically 6 squares. And what is the area of square? How we identify or calculate the area of a square? We calculate the area of square as square of the side, right? So we multiply side by side, gives you the area of that one square. That's why now side square is nothing but area of one square. And how many square faces are there in cube? 6. So that's why to identify the total area of all the outer faces, we multiply it by 6 because there are 6 square faces in the cube. And each square face is nothing but a normal square having an area of square of sides. That's why surface area becomes 6 multiplied by square of side. Alright, let's take a look at worked example. So you have this square faced cube, right? Where you have how many square faces? 6 square faces. A cube has each side which is equal to the length of 3 centimeter. Now to find the surface area, that is the total area of the outer faces of this cube, our formula is SA is equals to 6 multiplied by side square. So what is S? S is 3 centimeter here. That's why 6 multiplied by square of 3. Now square of 3 is 9. So 6 multiplied by 9 is going to be 54 centimeter square. Take a note, as we are calculating area, the unit has become centimeter square or square centimeter, right? In volume, we are having cube centimeters or cube meters based on whatever the measuring unit is used for your cube or cuboid. To identify the volume, the measuring unit is always going to be in cube form, and in area it is going to be squared units. All right, let's take a look at surface area of your cuboid now. Now in cuboid, we have 6 rectangular faces. Correct? If you remember the cuboid, we had 6 rectangular faces. So, to identify the surface area of the cuboid, how you would calculate it? You will have a calculation formula where surface area is equals to double of sum of length multiplied by width, then your length multiplied by height, and your width multiplied by height. All right, so what you're going to do basically, you're going to identify or calculate the area of each rectangle which is there into a cuboid, and there are opposite sides same. So you have to double the area of each rectangle, and it is going to give you the total surface area. So basically your total surface area is going to be the a double of area of each rectangle into a cuboid. All right, we'll learn it more with the help of a worked example. So let's take a look. You have this cuboid, all right, and you have these sides given here as 3, 4 and 6. So 6 is length, 4 is your width, 3 is your height. Now this is a cuboid which is going to have opposite faces same, means this face and the face which lies here is same. Now this is one rectangle which is going to be same as the rectangle which is at the back side of this cuboid. You have this one rectangle, all right, which is going to be same as the one which falls on this side, and then you have one more rectangle at the top which is going to be same as the one at the bottom. All right, now it has basically 6 rectangles into it, and what we are going to do is we are going to calculate the area of each of these rectangles. Now, as this rectangle is going to be same as the one behind, this one is going to be same as the one behind, and the top one rectangle is going to be same as the bottom one. That's why what we do, we calculate the area of 3 rectangle and then simply double it. Correct? So, for calculating the surface area of your cuboid is SA is equals to double of length into width, so it is going to be this area of this. Length into height, it is going to be area of this. All right, so first one has been this. Length into height, length into height is going to be this rectangle, and then width and height is going to be this rectangle. All right, now we will calculate this, sum this, and then double it. So that gives you 2 multiplied by, you have to do an individual calculation, length into width, then length into height, then width into height. All right, that gives you 2 multiplied by, in bracket you have to sum up all this now. 6 multiplied by 4, 24. Then 6 multiplied by 3, 18. 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. So that becomes 2 multiplied by 54. That is double of 54 is going to be 108 centimeters square. Okay, so the surface area of your cuboid is eventually 108 square centimeters. All right, so you have to remember these formulas, that you just have to calculate the area of the 3 rectangular faces, opposite faces which are same, right? So you have to calculate the area of rectangle, that is going to be a multiplication of the two sides, the two same sides of the rectangle, and then double that. All right, so if you can identify the length, width, and height of a cuboid using this formula, you can calculate the total surface area of the cuboid. All right, so that's pretty much for today. With this video, we learned how to identify your cubes and cuboids and then calculate their volumes and the surface area. All right, you have a quick link into the description for the quiz to test your knowledge. Do let us know your comments and suggestions. Thank you so much for watching.